Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This is the show designed to teach you natural solutions to today's worst health problems. My purpose is to try to help as many people as possible live a better life through natural health care, and I've got a good one for you today. Today, I'm going to answer the question that I hear every single day in my personal practice, and that is, Doc, why am I so tired all the time? And it's true. So many people ask me about how they can have better energy. I bet if I ask 100 people right now, would you like to learn how to have more energy? You would get almost 100 of them would say, yes, I would love to. I'm exhausted all the time. So we're going to get into all of that on the show today. And obviously, the details of that is a very complicated question. There's no magic bullet to give someone their energy back, but there are some commonalities that I wanted to talk about today that I see on a day-to-day basis as we restore a patient's health and energy. And the truth is, those two things are the same thing. You've never met somebody that was super healthy that said they were tired. Those people have plenty of energy. And the reverse of that, you never have met someone that's sick and unhealthy that has plenty of energy. No, they're fatigued and wore out all the time. So having good energy and having good health are the same thing. Those are not, you can't have one without the other. And so it's very important whenever we restore a patient's health that we also restore their energy first, because you cannot regain someone's health if they don't have the energy to do so. Because energy is so important to every other treatment that we do for patients. We always start with that. And on my personal practice, in my day-to-day practice, I use something that I call my 3 pillars of health. So when it comes to restoring a patient's health and giving them their longest, best life possible, there are 3 things. There's 3 main areas that I call the 3 pillars of health that we have to address in order to truly give that patient their best and longest life possible. And those 3 pillars are, number 1 is cellular health. Cellular health means your internal cellular organ function, meaning how do we make your cells, your tissues, and your organs work as good as in a healthy way as possible. And that's obviously also a very complicated question, because our body is a complicated mechanism. But the truth is, your cells are designed to perform a function. Your cells are genetically programmed to do things. A muscle cell contracts, a skin cell protects, a stomach cell produces acid, a nerve cell transmits, and on and on and on throughout your whole body, throughout all of your systems. Your cells are genetically programmed to perform the function that they were designed to function in order to keep you healthy. And when these functioning of your cells begin to break down, disease and sickness will then follow. Diabetes, cancer, heart disease, hormonal disorders, thyroid disease, autoimmune conditions, all of these things have to do with your cellular functions breaking down. The beginning of all of those diseases, and almost every other one, is that your normal cellular processes will begin to malfunction. So our first pillar of health is, how do we get your cells to regain and restore their function using natural health care? The most important question with the first pillar of health is, why are the cells doing what they're doing? And how do we get these cells to do something better? How do we get these cells to perform in a healthier, more normal way? And okay, let's say those cells are damaged. Well, you don't keep the same cells all the time. You've got a fresh new crop of cells coming right behind those that are genetically programmed to do that function. So why don't they work? You have a new skin every 15 days. You have a new liver every around about 7 years. You have a new heart. All the cells have replaced themselves. And those new cells are genetically programmed to do some function. So why aren't they? And so the first pillar of health is your internal cellular health. And it's very important whenever you're dealing with restoring someone's health that you look at all of those internal cellular functions. Now, the second pillar of health deals with the structural side of your body, your structural health, meaning your joints, your bones, your muscles, your vertebrae, all of your tissues. Because if all of your organs and your health is in great shape, cellular-wise and organ-wise, your heart's good, your lungs good, but you develop degenerative arthritis in your knees, or you blow out a spinal disc and have debilitating surgery, or you have some other structural problem that prevents you from living your best life, it didn't really matter that your lungs and your heart and all of that was in good shape. You still did not live your best life possible because of some structural problem that prevented you from doing so. So we have to address the structural, physical, mechanical side of your health as well in order for you to truly live your best life possible. And then the third pillar of health is proper weight management and weight loss. 2/3 of Americans now have weight problems. And all of the diseases that come along with that have to be addressed to restore someone's health to its maximum capacity. Because if you're overweight, your structure will break down. If you're overweight, your knees will deteriorate early. Your hips will break down early. And also, if you're overweight, your cellular function will break down. You can't have one pillar of health without addressing the other two. If I can take a patient that has a health problem, any health problem, and I can get their cellular function working to its maximum capacity, and I can get their structure as balanced and sound and corrected as it possibly can be, and then I can get their weight where it needs to be, this patient can now live at their maximum potential. And that's why I call this 3 pillars of health that we address with everyone that truly wants to restore themselves back to their full capacity. A patient that comes in and doc that says, I want to live my longest, best life possible. We start with the 3 pillars. And every one of those 3 pillars is critically dependent on a patient's energy. So when the patients are low on energy and they have chronic fatigue and they're tired all the time, it makes addressing every one of those problems harder. And that's why addressing energy first is critically important. We got to address the energy right out of the bat, right out of the chute. That's the first thing we have to do, because if you don't have the energy to repair your tissues, if you don't have the energy to restore your cellular functions, or if you don't have the energy to have the metabolism to lose weight, none of those other things are going to be successful. You could be at the best clinic in the world, doing the best treatments in the world, and if you don't have the raw energy to go from level A to B, it's just not going to happen for you. It's just not going to work. It's like a car. In order for a car to go from 20 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour, it takes an energy input to increase that speed. It takes more gasoline. It takes more oxygen. It takes an energy input. It takes raw energy for your body to heal itself. It takes energy for you to go from a lower level of health to a higher level of health. And so we have to address that first. If your energy is low, it's quicksand. You're not going to improve yourself. And that's why I'm saying it doesn't matter what clinic you're at. It doesn't matter what treatment you're doing. If you don't have the raw energy to improve yourself, it's probably not going to happen for you. And that's what today's show is going to be all about. How do we address that question? Doc, why am I so tired all the time? But the larger issue that patients don't realize It's more than just you're tired all the time. It means your cells aren't healing. It means your structure isn't repairing. It means your hormones aren't being produced. Your digestive enzymes aren't being made properly. Your brain neurotransmitters aren't being correctly made. It takes energy to fuel your normal processes. And when you're feeling low energy, if you're already feeling like you're tired all the time, your body is not going to be able to properly address all of the systems that it has to address to keep you healthy. We got to address that first. We have to, right off of the bat, address dealing with your low energy. Otherwise, nothing we do after that will be successful. So we got to address energy first. And I'm going to show you how to do that on today's show right after this next break. So stay tuned. Don't go away. You're going to want to catch this about energy whenever we get back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me on this very important show today. Today, I'm going to teach you about natural ways you can improve your energy and therefore improve your health. In the first segment, I was saying that your body runs off of a never-ending supply of energy, just like your car runs off of a never-ending supply of gasoline. And guys, when I say energy, I don't mean it like this kind of weird metaphorical, hippie kind of sense, like, oh, your energy's so beautiful today. I don't mean it like that at all. Your body makes a packet of energy called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's what your cells burn for fuel. Just like your car burns gasoline, my truck burns diesel, your cells burn ATP to fuel their processes. There is a little energy factory inside of every one of your cells called the mitochondria. The mitochondria are like little energy factories inside every one of your cells. And the mitochondria are what make the energy for your cells to perform their functions. And they run off of ATP. That's their fuel. That's their gasoline. And it's very important that we restore your ATP balance to its highest level. And like I said in the first segment, right off the bat, we have to do this first, or everything we do after that will not be successful. Most patients that we check that have lost their health are burning through their ATP faster than they can make it. It would be like your car running out of gas every day. It would be like if somebody gave you a brand new Cadillac and told you you can only pump $1 of gas in this car at a time. I'll pay for all the gas you want, but you can only pump $1 at a time. The car would drive you crazy. You would hate the car, even though it's brand new. You would constantly be running out of fuel. And that's what your cells are doing. That's what your body is going through. Constantly low, running out of ATP and energy, causing their cellular functions to break down and your structure not to repair and your metabolism so low that weight loss becomes impossible. Now, what we find in patients that are out of energy, that are chronically fatigued and tired all the time, is that because our bodies are dealing with more than ever before in the history of mankind, they're running out of ATP. Their body is using it faster than it can make it. And in order for you to go from sickness to healthy, it takes an energy input. It takes an increase in energy. In order for you to go from a diseased state, it takes an input of energy for you to restore to a healthy state. The problem with this is that our bodies, like I said, are dealing more with ever before in the history of mankind. So we're burning our fuel faster than we can make it, and our bodies don't have a chance to repair itself properly to its maximum state. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why people are so tired all the time. We're burning through our ATP faster than we can make it. And that's what I do. Whenever we take a patient, the first thing we do is that we find out where the body's losing energy, where are you burning it, where are you spending your energy that you don't have to, and secondly, how do we get your body to make energy better? So how do we put more in the tank? How do we pump more gas? And how do we cut back our fuel economy to where we're not burning so much gas? Every one of those three pillars of health are critically dependent on having extra energy in your system in order for that to work. And like I said, you could be at the best clinic in the world, and it's just not going to happen for you if you don't have the raw energy. Sometimes patients will go from specialist to specialist, doctor to doctor, looking for an answer, getting diagnosis after diagnosis. And the whole time, it doesn't matter what they do, they don't have the energy level to repair. Their cells don't have the energy, the raw fuel to function better. They're not going to get results. I don't care how many specialists they go to until this problem is addressed. And so that is so important that we do that. Every patient is sort of stuck in this rut where their health, looking for an answer, but the whole time they're getting sicker and sicker and worse because their energy is so low, their body just doesn't have a chance to repair itself. No one else is doing this type of care. So many of these so-called natural health care clinics are just treating symptoms with supplements. That's just as unsuccessful as about anything that you could do. To just say, well, what are your symptoms? Well, take these supplements, see if it goes away, and see me in a month. That's not really doing anything that medicine isn't doing, except it's doing it in the most unsuccessful way possible. Natural supplements can never compete with medicine when it comes to symptomatic relief. If all you're after is to just get rid of your symptoms, nothing can compete with medicine in doing that. I could give you enough medicine that I could literally cut your foot off while we have a conversation together, and you wouldn't even feel it. Herbs and supplements can never compete with that. And that's not what my version of natural health care is all about. We have to address these three pillars of health. One is your internal cellular functioning. Why are your cells doing what they're doing, and how can we make them work better? And the second one is your structural health, your tissues, your bones, your joints, to make sure they are in great shape. And the third is your weight, to make sure that you're not developing chronic disease associated with being too heavy. All three of these pillars require that you have an abundance of ATP and energy in your body for you to go from level A, unhealthy, to level B, healthy. If you're low in ATP, your structures won't repair. Your joints will not repair themselves. Your torn muscles, your arthritic tissues and joints won't repair themselves. If you're low in ATP, your cellular function will never be able to function correctly. And if you're low in energy, your metabolism will never be high enough for you to be successful at weight loss. It all starts with energy. And we have to ask, where's the places in your body that you're burning through your energy that you don't need to? Where is it blowing its energy, and how do we fix that? And then we ask, how do we put more energy into the system? How do we get your body to make energy better? What can we do to get this body to be able to make ATP faster? It's like a bank account. You have to deposit more money into the checking account than you're spending out of it. And if you do that, your checking account's healthy. You have to, just like you have to make more energy than your body is using. Same thing with your checking account. And as long as you're depositing more into that checking account than you're spending out, that checking account stays healthy. But when you start writing more checks than you have money in that account, Now you're deficit spending. And when your body starts spending more energy than what it's able to make, now you're in energy deficit. And when you're running on an energy deficit, your body will literally have to pick and choose what systems it's going to run properly. Your brain will look up one day to your body and say, we're in real trouble. We're now in crisis mode. And you cannot be in crisis mode and healing healthy mode at the same time. Your body will have to pick and choose where it's going to use this little energy reserve that it's barely getting by on. So your brain may say, your brain function, give that a little energy. Not too much. We don't have any extra. Give it just a little bit. Proper hormones, we don't have the energy for that. Heart, give it a little bit of energy. We got to get by on the heart. Digestion, don't have the energy for that. Libido, definitely don't have the energy for that. Until you fix this energy deficit problem, quicksand. You're not moving forward. You cannot move to the next step and the next level of health. And before we cut to this next break, if this sounds like something that makes a lot of sense to you, and you'd like to have a phone conversation with me about your particular health problem, I would love to have a quick phone conversation with you to see if maybe my methods might be able to help you. You're welcome to call my office at 837-7174 and leave your name and number on the machine. And when I get back to work next week, obviously it's Saturday, I'm not at work, but if you leave your name and number, when I get back to work next week, I'll give you a call and we can have a phone conversation to see if I think my program might be able to do you some good. And if I don't think it will, I won't waste your time. I'm busy enough. I don't have to do that. But my purpose is to try to help as many of you out there that are really looking for a way to improve your health, but you're stuck. You're just stuck in what you've been doing. Maybe you feel like you've tried everything and you've just sort of given up. Like, well, I'm just getting old. I'm supposed to feel this way. That may very well not be true. If you're frustrated with where your health is headed, I would love to see if my methods might be able to improve your health. You can call my office at 837-7174. Just leave your name and number right there on the machine, and I will personally call you back when I get to work Monday, and we can have a chat about it. 837-7174. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us on this very important show today. We are discussing chronic fatigue. And the question I hear almost every single day in my practice, Doc, why am I so tired all the time? And the truth is that's a very complicated question. There's thousands of little reasons that we have to figure out on an individual basis why the patient has lost their energy. It could be leaky gut syndrome, stealth infections, food intolerances, autoimmune problems. It could be hundreds of little things. Normally, it's several of those things. But today I've been talking about some concepts that we begin with whenever we begin to look at this energy deficit problem. Almost every time, the overall idea is that the patient is burning through their energy faster than they can make it. Sometimes restoring someone's energy so that they're not tired all the time can be very simple, a real easy to address thing. But other times it may be rooted in chronic conditions that require a more thorough approach. Only by looking at your individual issues can we ever figure out how you can restore your energy and therefore restore your health. Because like I was saying in the first segment, those two things go together. You've never met somebody that's real healthy that's low on energy. They're always bouncing all over the place. They're full of energy. And you know, you might even say to yourself, man, I wish I had some of their energy. Health, having good health and energy are the same thing. And I can flip that and say you've never met somebody that's really sick that had plenty of energy. In order for you to be healthy, you also have to regain your energy first. And only by looking at your individual issues can we figure out how you can restore your particular energy. It's too complicated to say, as a general rule. There could be thousands of things. But we have to look at this on an individual basis of how you can restore your energy. Where is your body spending extra energy that it doesn't need to? Is it leaky gut? Is it stealth infections, food intolerances, autoimmune, you name it? And also, how do we get your body to make better energy? I can tell you this, though, if you're tired all the time, that means that you're also not making proper cellular functions. You're probably not making proper hormones and proper digestive enzymes, because remember, your energy is a lot more than just being tired. That's what runs your systems, like gas runs your car. So many Americans are so low energy that we've burned through all of our energy that our bodies need, not only to feel good, but also to run all of our normal systems. And that's why we have so many health problems in America. That's why so many people are so unhealthy. And, it's really unfortunate that most doctors aren't asking these questions as to why are Americans so sick all the time. And listen, if you don't think Americans are sick all the time, you really need to look at the research. Americans are so sick now that it's become just normal. It's become normal. Our idea of health and disease has gotten so skewed that it seems weird to us when somebody doesn't have something wrong with them and take a bunch of medicine. I hear people say that all the time. You mean you don't take anything? You don't have any diseases at all? Most Americans are on 3 or 4 or 5 medicines and dealing with multiple chronic diseases all at the same time. The truth is, we're one of the most unhealthy nations in the industrialized world. And when the new statistics come out, we may be looking at 1 in 48 boys now born with autism. There's been a 683% increase in neurological disorders. 1 out of 9 kids now have a learning problem. At least 1 in 20 Americans may have an autoimmune disease. 2/3 of Americans are overweight. 1/3 is obese. Alzheimer's rates are skyrocketing. Diabetes rates are climbing every single year. 50 years ago, you rarely heard of anyone with a thyroid problem. Now, I bet everyone within the sound of my voice knows someone who's dealing with a thyroid or a hormone problem. Children born today are the first generation in the history of humans that will not outlive the generation before them. They won't outlive their parents and grandparents. And if we could just address these 3 pillars of health, we could stop so much of this. And if we would just address the individual energy of the patient first, we could get such a better result with our health care than what we do. And it's unfortunate that most doctors aren't dealing with these issues with their patients. Guys, listen, American medicine is absolutely fantastic at acute crisis emergency-based medicine. Surgery works great for this. If I'm having a heart attack, bring me to the hospital. If I'm in a head-on collision or my arm is severed, American medicine is the best in the world at this. But for chronic things like arthritis and MS and Crohn's disease and fibromyalgia and these chronic type conditions, not so much. If I said name one chronic disease we've cured in the last 50 years, go. It's like roll the crickets chirping, right? Because these chronic conditions can't be treated this way. You have to get as far upstream as possible in the cellular processes, in these 3 pillars of health to address some of these chronic things that's plaguing so many Americans. It's gotten to where we quote unquote manage these diseases. But unfortunately, it's become so normal to most Americans to have these diseases and to be fatigued and ran down and tired all the time that it's just part of our society now. Patients are okay with managing their diabetes and supplementing their thyroid and trying these fad diets to lose weight after fad diet after fad diet. And then they die an early death that could have been prevented by addressing these 3 pillars of health, but starting with the energy. I want you to know this is about my philosophy of health. This is about my version of natural health care. You do not have a disease because you're unlucky and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I hear people say that all the time. Well, doc, I caught diabetes last year. You didn't catch diabetes. It wasn't an accident. It's not like you walked around a corner and it snuck out of an alley and grabbed you and now you have diabetes. Something is breaking down at a cellular level that caused that. And it's usually not one thing, but it's a series of multiple things that we call co-causes. And it's a complicated issue, and it takes time to figure all this out. And you can't figure this stuff out in a 3-minute office visit, and that's why I don't do 3-minute office visits. And if this sounds like something that you might be interested in, if you're frustrated with where your health is headed, you're more than welcome to call my office at 837-7174 and leave your name and number on the machine. And I'll call you back when I get to work next week and we can have a discussion to see if I think my methods might be able to turn your health around. And if I don't think they can, I won't waste your time. It's 837-7174. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us on this very important show. I really hope today's show explained why you feel the way you do. And I hope that we've answered some questions that I hear all the time about, Doc, why am I so tired all the time? How can I get more energy? It all revolves around your molecule called ATP. The truth is, guys, we are energetic beings. We need a never-ending supply of energy in order to be healthy and feel good. So if I were to ask you this question, at the end of the day, do you ever feel like your body has burned more energy than it was able to make that day? Many people would say that's exactly how I feel. At the end of every day, I feel like I just didn't have enough energy that day. That's because that's exactly what's happening. You burned through your energy more than your reserve that you had. The vast majority of the patients we check with health problems also have this energy deficit problem, meaning your body has burned through its ATP faster than it can make it. And there are really two reasons our bodies are dealing with this energy problem. Number one is we're burning through it faster than ever before. And number two is we're not making it as good as we used to either. We have on the point of dealing with more than ever before. We have more environmental toxins than ever. The average American now eats 14 pounds of chemicals and toxins a year. We have more stress than ever before. Everybody's stressed out to the max that you talk to. We aren't sleeping well, robbing ourselves of the energy that we need. We have a computer screen 2 feet from our face every day, draining our energy. Our food is completely void of nutrients, so that our body needs to make that energy. Our digestive systems are completely destroyed. We have low stomach acid and leaky gut syndrome. I could go on and on. We have these GMO foods that are really worthless to our body. We see patients with mold exposures all the time, especially with these floods, that we have. I could go on and on, but just know that we are burning through energy like crazy, and our body doesn't have the ability to make energy as fast as it used to. It's like if you had this bank account I've been talking about, and your paycheck got cut from $100 down to $80. And at the same time, everybody you bump into is going, hey, I need that $20 you owe me. Oh, here's a bill that you've forgotten. You're spending it like crazy, and your paycheck got cut. That's what our bodies are dealing with on an energy level. Many patients are running on this energy deficit, and until that part is addressed, quicksand. You cannot obtain a higher level of health until that problem is addressed. No matter what clinic you're at, no matter what treatment that you're doing, until you fix this energy reserve, you cannot reach a higher level of health. That's why that's the first thing that we address whenever it comes to our patients restoring their health. And then after we address this energy problem, then and only then can we address these 3 pillars of health, which are number one, addressing your internal cellular health, your cells, your organs, your tissues, making sure your digestive system, your hormonal levels, your heart and lungs, your kidneys, all of those systems are working properly. And then the second pillar of health is your external structural health, your joints, your bones, your tissues, and your muscles. We have to address that because if your heart and lungs are great, if your organs are working great, but you blow out a disc or you damage a knee, you still will not be able to live your best life. If your heart and lungs are great, but you end up in a wheelchair or using a walker, that's not ideal either. So we have to address the structural side. And then the third pillar of health is we have to address weight loss and weight management. Because if you're too heavy, if your structure breaks down and your internal cellular health breaks down because you're too heavy, well, that didn't work out very good either. So these three pillars of health all go together and they all must be addressed as part of one comprehensive program. And that's what I do in my day-to-day practice. That's why I've been able to help thousands and thousands of patients after they've been everywhere and tried everything because no one else is doing this type of work. And if this sounds like something you're interested in, if you're frustrated with the direction that your health is going, you're welcome to call my office at 837-7174. And when I get back to work Monday, I will personally give you a call. It will be me on the phone, and we can have a conversation about what's going on with you, what led up to this, and I can explain a little bit about how my program might be able to help you or not. If I don't think it will help you, I certainly won't waste your time, and all you're out of is a 5 or 10 minute phone conversation. That number was 837-7174. Thank you all for listening. I hope this explained why you're so tired all the time. We can figure out the details. 837-7174. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.